I'm Brett Weldele. Today we're going to check out the newest member in the Distress line, Distress Paint. It's pretty awesome. Let's check it out. So this is Distress Paint. It's a opaque, fluid-based acrylic. Unlike most acrylics though, it's designed so that you can work over top of it, and it's very reactive with water, just like the rest of the Distress ink line. It's really unique. It has a really long open drying time. In fact, it's actually kind of stubborn to dry in more thick, opaque applications, but in very light, watery applications, it dries very quickly. And this is still drying. This has sort of a milky, creamy texture to it. It's kind of unique. As you can see, it drips very easily. When it's dry, it actually it's hard to see, but it has this sort of matte, almost dull shine to it. Very kind of chalky looking, almost gouache-like. And it's just really cool stuff. Now, where things get really awesome, and this is what was blowing my mind this week, is this is acrylic. The rest of the Distress ink line is a dye ink. Now, if you've ever tried to watercolor over acrylic, you'll note that it doesn't really work. Because acrylic's this plastic, watercolor will bead up over top of it. Well, what happens with this is it kind of soaks into the paper really nicely. But the thing that kind of blew me away is that you can mix Distress ink with the paint. So you have the best of both worlds. You can have opaque portions, you can have very translucent portions, you can mix in your Distress ink colors with your Distress paint colors. The techniques that you can get with this is incredible. In this example, I started out with frayed burlap Distress paint again, but then I sprayed in some broken china with a spritzer bottle of Distress ink, not paint, Distress ink. And you can see in portions of it just like blended right in. It stayed separate in this area. It kind of worked in there, and then I layered it again with some more sprayed Distress ink with some more frayed burlap on top of it, and you can just keep layering and layering. One of the great things about this acrylic as well is that you can draw over it. One of my big things with working with any medium is whether I can work over top of it, and that's not traditionally been the case with acrylics. I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like when you start mixing in other Distress inks into the Distress paint. Again, this is frayed burlap. Got some Distress reinker and water in a little mister. Just spray a little bit in there. Take another color. Maybe one more. Maybe like a little bit of an orange. See what that does. Take my paper towel, lay it down so I don't get a bunch of ink running all over the place, and paint. Too late there. Just like that, we have all our different paints all happily working together. Like it's completely frayed out here and mixed together. It's just awesome. I also wanted to demo the possibilities of drawing over top of it with different media. First, we're going to try paint. We're going to try some distress stain over top. This is all dry and layered. Take a water brush, just dab out a little bit of aged mahogany onto the brush tip. I wouldn't recommend doing this. These contaminate very easily. So unless you're absolutely sure you have a really clean brush tip, I wouldn't try. This is nuts. Just draw right over the acrylic. Now it will bead up over the thick, opaque portions of it, and it's not going to work great. But anywhere it's kind of lighter, it will work. And if you get it kind of like on an area, and you let it, and you kind of just work it, and you let it dry, it will stay. It's not permanent. The acrylic acts as sort of a resist, so you can always wipe it off with some water, but it will stay and it will dry, so that's pretty awesome. So as I'm just noodling around, I'm going to try a distress marker. These are quite a bit denser in terms of ink flow, but just, you know, when these start going over this area, it's just, I've never been able to do something like that where you can just draw a marker over acrylic, and it's a water-based marker. I mean, it's not an alcohol-based or a paint-based marker. It's just a straight-up water-based marker, and it just goes right over all of it. It's so crazy. So that's distress paint and distress ink. Catch you next time.